Hi, Ricky Riedling here, and today I have with me RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4 winner, Sharon Needles. Sharon, how are
I'm
you?
slightly hungover. Great.
A rough night?
Sure. I don't really know what a not rough night feels like, but some call it a hangover. I call it morning.
Okay. Well, I know you have been
Some
doing.
call it 3 p.m. and I call it morning.
So your life has been pretty hectic since winning RuPaul's Drag Race.
Well, I never stopped, and I look at it as in, I didn't finish high school and I didn't go to college, and some of my friends devoted 4 grueling years to the betterment of the rest of their lives. So I look at it as I go to same university. So I'm dedicating 4 good, strong, non-stopping, no sleeping years to a great opportunity that I'm very privileged and lucky to have. So I don't want to stop, and I'm obsessed with being famous. So I feel like if I pause, then it's going to go away.
And you,
This one would be beautiful season 6 that you're coming to steal my booking seat.
I mean, you've been traveling, what, Europe, Australia, Canada? I mean, you've been all over. So, I mean, it's been amazing.
From Adelaide, Australia to Calgary, Canada, I have seen it all.
So, any favorite cities or any parts of it that you really loved that you'd love to visit again? Or
Yes, I think Australia. I really like Australia. I like the people. I like the weather. I like how it totally looks like you're on another planet. And everyone, and I'm telling you, everyone has a huge penis. That is good, but heavy in the hand, and like a little baby. Cities that I don't like tend to ring horror in my head. Like Scotland was a very taxing country to be in. I look sober in Scotland, and that's that. And Canada is also one big. I hate it. I love Canada, and I love Canadians, and I love Montreal, and I love all the major cities, and even some of the smaller cities like Saskatoon and Calgary. But getting into your country is impossible. I got a DUI 9 years, 3 months, and 17 days ago, and it is like pulling teeth trying to get into your country. I mean, your mayors can smoke crack, and gay models can chop up their Asian boyfriends and eat them, but you cannot drink and drive.
well, did you ever just wake up one morning and just wonder, where the hell am I?
Sometimes I wake up and I have this panic attack that I've missed my flight, and I'm trying to figure out what hotel I'm in, and then I realize that I'm home. I get most confused when I wake up in my own bed. I'm like, why does this hotel smell like an ashtray, and have I missed my flight?
Now, I know that you're vegetarian, correct?
I am a vegetarian. I will not eat them, but I'll wear the shit out of them.
Now, did you find any difficulties, like staying on your diet when you were traveling abroad? Because I know they say in some of the other countries, it can be kind of difficult, if you're vegetarian or if you're vegan.
Absolutely not. Just because I'm a vegetarian doesn't mean that I'm healthy. I think people have this misconception that vegetarians are health nuts. Not really. If there's bread and cheese, I shall be fed. But when in doubt, or if I find that there's no vegetarian option, I'll drink my dinner. I eat like Slim Fast, except it's with Pabst Blue Ribbon. One for breakfast, one for lunch, and a sensible dinner.
You sound like my type of girl.
If I wasn't a famous artist, they'd call me an alcoholic.
So you released your debut album this year titled PG-13. What can you tell me about it?
Well, PG-13 is it's a roller coaster of everything that has been in my mind since I was a kid. Half of these songs are from poetry entry and journal entries all the way back to my years. So I knew I didn't just want to do one song, and I'm not good at writing a drag track. You know, I'm not good at writing out runways and hairspray and fingernails. I mean, those things are evident. Just look at me. But I really wanted to use, make a pop record, a tangible pop record that delved into the psyche of Sharon Needles. Sharon Needles is a Rolodex of sub-pop culture, and so it's very tongue-in-cheek, wittily, and play-with-word written with everything that goes on in my head. You know, there's lines like "dress me up from head to toe tag," or "you can be my Vincent Price." You know, these dark nature things that I can lick, you know, inside of it. But, you know, then there's songs like "Call Me on the Ouija Board," which is basically based off of telephone culture and pop music, like No Doubt Spiderwebs, Blondie's "Call Me," Lady Gaga's "Telephone." Only I made it about a Ouija board. There's songs like "Drink Till I Die," which I think speaks to a lot of GLBTQIAs who would consider maybe their best friend lives in a bottle. And also I did 2 cover songs. I did "Every Day is Halloween" by Ministry, which is something I always wanted to do. I covered "Why Do You Think You're Nuts" by Penny Pierce, which I think is something a lot of kids didn't know about. It's basically, like I said, it's a roller coaster and a pop record that I wanted kids who, you know, might just listen to their Nicki Minaj and their Lady Gaga, and I wanted them to have a pop record that's not only fun, danceable, but also possibly slightly intelligent.
Right. So, Sharon, any new projects for you coming up in the new year?
Yeah, I just wrapped up the video shoot for my new single, "Dress to Kill," and Lady Gaga, get out of my way. The children are going to gag on the older dancer of "Dress to Kill." We just finished up the wrap on that in Denver. And while I was in Denver, I had the opportunity to do a fashion show and showcase my new fashion line, which I collaborated with the legendary Jeffrey Mack, who's done, tons of pop stars from Lacana Pop and does all my costuming, has done costuming for Delight and Lady Bunny. And we collaborated and made a very affordable, ready-to-wear clothing line that is extremely offensive. we have mini dresses and leggings that are silk screens with all of America's famous serial killers. We have leggings that are the Twin Towers. We have a line of bags, leggings, and mini dresses that are printed with Coke baggies, lines of Coke, Molly. Still, there's a lot of drug use, serial killers, Amanda Lepore, and 9/11.
So where can we purchase this line of clothing next year, or where can it be found at?
We're still in prototypes right now, but
Okay.
I believe they go up soon, and you can find those on SharonNeedles.com in my store, and
Okay.
I believe you can also buy them directly through Jeffrey Mack as well.
So where shall we find you for New Year's, Sharon?
So for the New Year, New Year's is one of my favorite holidays, and I tend not to want to work on New Year's because no one wants to kiss you in drag. So I was going to take New Year's off, but my dear idol, and one of the main reasons of why I do drag and why I have the brash mouth that I do, is because I grew up with great foul mouth drag queens, and the biggest one being Lady Bunny. Lady Bunny had a little slippy, a little boo-boo, and she fell and actually broke her wrist.
Yeah.
So, and she was booked in a play bar in Louisville, Kentucky, and she asked if I would take the spot for her. And, I think I'm a good match. If you can't get Lady Bunny, you might as well have Sharon Needles. So, so I would like to have had the time off, because things have been so hectic lately. Doing Lady Bunny a favor and hanging out with my fans from Louisville, Kentucky will be a treat. And J. Jolie's going to be there.
So, what's going on with you in the relationship department right now?
I'm actually going through kind of a tumultuous 4-year relationship split. So right now, I think I need to work on the mad scientist behind Sharon Needles.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, Sharon.
Well, it's something that me and Alaska were very adult about, which is weird because we're both loud, emotional egomaniacs, and you would think You know, we've been considered the royal couple of drag, and I think we knew we were going to feel the pain and the aghast and the disappointment from fans. But I think it allowed us to be a little more mature about it. So, but I will say that I've been dreading this day that the press release was put out, because me in Alaska, we get emails every day, you know, from kids all over the world who feel like, due to the fact that they do drag or that they're weird, that it is so hard for them to find a companion, and they find so much hope and you know, and excitement for their own futures, knowing that we were able to find each other. And so I just want anyone to know that, you know, just because me in Alaska didn't work out, you know, it doesn't set a standard for anyone's personal love life.
Well, yes, and, you know, I think you in Alaska, you were like role models for a lot of kids out there.
Well, I think the reason me in Alaska are role models is because we don't strive to be them. So, you know, most role models in the spotlight tend to have to, you know, tiptoe around their words and say the right thing and look the right way. And, you know, I think the reason kids like me in Alaska is that we don't follow any standard rules, and we don't listen to what the industry thinks is best for us. And I think the reason we are role models is because we strive not to be.
Right.
I'm not a role model. I'm a supermodel.
There's a big difference there, correct?
Well, you know, and at first when I realized that I had role model status, I did feel like I had the pressure to, you know, to say the right thing. But then I had to look at my own teenage years growing up, and my role models certainly would not be what my parents called them, like people like Gigi Allen and Marilyn Manson and Divine and Lee Bowery. And these were people that were considered anti-role models, but that's why I like them. And I think kids are the same as they were when I was growing up. They find hope and excitement through bad people.
Now, you were actually asked to come back for Rupauls AllStars, is that correct?
God, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about that. I try not to bite the hand that feeds me.
Well, you know what? No, I actually...
It is my liquor bill.
Right. Well, you know, I actually read because you felt like it was just too soon is where, you know, and, you know, you can quote me if I'm wrong on that, but you just thought it was too soon, and you actually wanted to give someone else a chance at it. So that's actually what I had read. So
well, the way it went was here in the States, fans were allowed to vote who they would like to see on AllStars.
Right.
Everyone got, you know, take the 13th position, or how many of those clowns there were on that show.
Right.
got to take the title. Well, that happened right on the cusp of my win. So I think I won the online vote because, you know, it was April of 2012. The world was abuzz on Sharon Needles. It was a phenomenal, bizarre time for me and the world of drag in general. But of course, since I won the show and I won the fan vote, you know, winners were not allowed to participate in AllStars.
Right.
Which, in my opinion, I'm very grateful for, because AllStars started filming 73 hours after I'd won. So I would have had 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
To bring a whole bunch of Olaganza to a set, and I just wouldn't have had it. But and at the time, I didn't want to return. I won more main challenges than any other Rupauls Drag Race contestant. I was one of the most fan favorited of all time. I didn't want to go back and tarnish that name, because when I was at Rupauls Drag Race for my season, I was very timid. I was very, you know, didn't know how the whole process worked. Well, I do now. And I'm afraid that vulnerable, sweet, deer in the headlights underdog would not have shined it through, because, you know, people say, don't let fame change you. Well, you show me the mathematical formula of how that fucking works, because it does change you. And I just didn't want to go back and have people see that. But now, since I've been away from the studio so long, I fucking miss it. It was like, it was like summer camp mixed with prison. You could only eat when you were told.
Right.
You had to stand and shoot for so long under the hot lights, but I also made so many good friendships, and it was a time of a lifetime, and I miss it. So if they ever throw, I would love to.
How was it working with RuPaul? I think that every drag diva out there would just kill for that opportunity.
I grew up learning about drag from the time I was 8. Some kids kept nudie magazines under their bed. I kept a 99-cent copy from the bargain bin of Wigstock, and I studied it since I was 8 years old. I knew my drag history probably more than any girl who's ever pounced that runway. So working with RuPaul wasn't working with the host of RuPaul's Drag Race. Working with RuPaul was working with a childhood idol that I had read every book, have owned every album. Shit, I own the original 1986 copy of Star Booty on Fun Tone Records on vinyl, and this was before she even moved to New York. So really, I was just in my opinion, I was just working with God.
Right.
And I am obsessed with the medium of television, and I always have been. I always say I was raised by a single parent. Her name was TV. And I always wanted to be inside that glowing box that fits in everyone's living room. I wanted to be in it. I knew I was destined to get inside that box. And the older you get, the more you know that's never going to happen.
Right.
So when RuPaul's Drag Race came out, I was like, what a perfect fit, for someone like me. But I knew I was never going to get on. I have a controversial name. I'm kind of busted. I'm just a big drunk dead clown. And when I got on that show and walked into that workroom for the first time, I'll tell you, the most surreal feeling, because it was like...
Well, Sharon, and I think that's a unique quality that, people draw from you, is that you're down to earth, you're just who you are. You don't try to put up a front, try to be somebody that you're not.
I don't think I'm honest because it's innately in my soul. I think I'm honest because I'm lazy. It's easier just to be honest than to try and make up some patent bullshit answer. It's too hard. And I'm a bad actress, so I think they would look right through it. So I just told the truth. And a lot of kids come out and they say, Sharon, thank you for being the first queen to talk about being bullied, and you were the queen that got bullied. Listen here, any clown who's ever pounced that runway has been bullied. That's why we do what we do. Drag isn't just an outlet of creativity. It's also an armor to protect us from what we have dealt with. It's not just a physical mask. It's also a psychological one as well.
Well, Sharon, I think RuPaul's Drag Race is such a great thing because it lets the everyday individual see what goes on behind the scenes and what it actually takes to be able to pull this off, and for you guys to do what you do.
And even people like, even a seasoned entertainer like me forgets that there is that man behind the curtain. There is that mad scientist. There is this great person. So even if the drag queen is a ditzy dumbass, there's something very smart behind there, right. Pulling those strings and crafting their puppeteering of their own body. And that is also, that's very interesting. A lot of people go to gay bars and they watch the drag shows. They forget behind all those rhinestones and in that big wig is that there's a mastermind creating it. But sometimes even I'm shocked. I remember the first time I saw Lady Bunny out of drag, and I was like, I never thought of you not being Lady Bunny. I never thought about it. It was the first time I ever saw RuPaul out of drag. I was like, oh, holy shit.
If you had to explain to someone about Sharon's look, or about who Sharon is, what would you say?
Sharon is a mixture of punk rock, pop culture. She's a mixture of 80s bimbo culture where women's strengths were shown to their stupidity. You can consider that misogynistic or just a bizarre sense of women's rights. And she's also a mixture of horror and everything dead, dark, macabre, and creepy, but not goth. I'm not a fat girl in Kansas City, Missouri, wearing a corn t-shirt with 12 lip rings. I'm macabre. I'm not goth. There is a difference.
There is a difference.
But really, I compare myself more to Manila than any other drag queen who's ever been on Drag Race because we are a reflection of what designed us as children. And if you look at what Manila is, she brings up SpongeBob SquarePants, she brings up the Teletubbies, she brings in these childish things. And really, when I was a child, I just wanted to be exposed to very adult things, horror movies, pornography, bimbos, and punk. You know, like I wasn't raised on Britney Spears. I was raised on the Sex Pistols. So I think that just innately got into Sharon Needles. And I think to be a great, well-rounded drag queen, you need to have three things that you always stick by that you apart from the others. That's why Sharon is beautiful, spooky, and stupid. She's a little bit of Rhonda Sheeran.
Well, Sharon, I think it's that great uniqueness of a little bit of everything that what you bit, season 4 RuPaul's Drag Race.
You know,
I think
a little bit of William Castle.
A big future ahead of you.
Well, I hope my future is bright, but darling, no sunlight, just spotlights.
All right, Sharon. Well, listen, I appreciate your time today, and from everyone at OUTtv, we thank you, and of course, I hope to see you in Canada again real soon. So.
Well, I love Canada, and if next time I'm in Toronto, please give me the number of that mayor. He looks like a good time, and that round face could be one fishy queen.
Okay. Well, Sharon, you have been fabulous. Thank you so much for your time, doll. So.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Peyton.
All right. Thank you.